Hey everybody, this is Chris McCabe back with my Ask an Amazon Agency video series. It's a little bit new. Today we are honored and privileged to have Christine Shaloni and Chris Brewer of OMG Commerce. Christine, did I get your last name correct?
You were really good.
I was close.
You were so close.
We're glad to have you with us. Thought we'd take a little bit of a different approach to this in terms of, well, I guess we could start with what are your daily lives like during peak holiday days, but then we'll shift into kind of what people should focus on afterwards. But let's just start real quick with what are those days like? Do you have to troubleshoot emergencies like some of us do here? Or do you just pray those don't happen and you keep operations going as smoothly as possible and making sure all of your sales are going without a hitch?
Well, I just looked up and to the left because I'm staring at my fire extinguisher. I always keep that real close by and handy. And sometimes it's things that brands could have handled 3 or 4 months ago. They didn't. And so when you get into crunch time, they find out how important those things are. But from my side of the fence, I help the team with amount of firefighting that is 9 times out of 10 not usually on our side. What about you, Christine?
Having a good fire extinguisher is definitely helpful. There's always, the Aaron ASIN that will go down, lose the buy box for something, a reseller pops on it. So on our end, it's really just staying really engaged in all of our accounts, try to catch those items before they become a thing, really checking all of our deals beforehand. It's almost more important than during. Beforehand, make sure you don't have any pricing errors or inventory problems, and then just let it go. Optimize your bids and try to make the most out of the 10 days.
How often does stuff crop up that you mapped out what you wanted to plan for? You planned for as many things as you possibly could. How often do things come up that you couldn't plan for, with the possible exception of like an Amazon glitch that's impacting everyone?
It would depend brand by brand and what they sell. Some brands are just a little more susceptible to takedowns, depending on what they're selling. Other brands can just skate through it completely unscathed. So really keeping our eyes on those brands that have a tendency to get an IP claim or a health claim or something along those lines.
Do they try to fix stuff themselves, or do they tell you right away and ask for your help? I'm just curious from what
They're usually counting on us to help fix it. Ideally, we like to find it first and fix it for them.
Of course. I'm just curious how many of them are like, we went ahead and did XYZ, and now we want to talk to you about it because that didn't work.
That's fine. But again, I prefer our team is on it. We fix it. We move on to the next thing.
Nice.
Because the next thing is going to come, right? So,
well, that's it. It's like everything's condensed into a series of days instead of a series of weeks. So way, way back in the day, even back when I was at Amazon, we thought of it in terms of like a month, not a day or 2 days, like, Prime Day is 2 days.
Yeah, that's a good point. And 2 things, I think, if we can't solve it, our next phone call is usually you. And I think we start talking about this time of year, late July, August, typically. Yeah.
Right.
Brands need to be planning for it right after Prime Day.
Yeah. Even on our side, we can't anticipate everything. I can typically read the winds of change or anticipate what Amazon might be doing, but it might not be Amazon's doing. It could be sellers start attacking each other in some new and interesting way that I've never heard of.
But if someone leaves a review that triggers some type of a performance notification, things like that, you don't know are going to happen, but it's got to be all hands on deck.
And Amazon abuse teams especially, but let's just say Amazon management isn't agile to the point where they can quickly identify a new trend that's unfolding in hours, not days. So they usually think, the institutional brain thinks, well, we haven't seen this before, so maybe they guess at what it is. Maybe they don't know how many sellers it's impacting. We usually have to fill in those blanks and that gap and do some sort of reverse education, like, well, this is what's going on. Maybe you can't see how many brands it's impacting, but we certainly can. So
Well, it's the larger you get, the actually less precise you are. I mean, that was evidenced. I don't know what the time of this going to be released, but
Yeah.
Netflix had egg flowing all over its face when they didn't plan for the amount of server bandwidth they would need for
Yeah.
the Tyson fight. And who's the other guy? Jake Paul.
Big Paul. I think you're safe. I think that'll be remembered for a long time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the memes and the Twitter posts on that were phenomenal.
Yeah. The question being though, why couldn't you, I mean, never mind Netflix for a moment. Why couldn't you anticipate that surge? Like you're going to get extreme interest in something like that. And even, I don't know if you remember the Super Bowl 10 years ago, the stadium lost power like during halftime, maybe because they were using so much power for the halftime show. I don't remember the details, but I mean, you can anticipate those types of needs in advance and have a backup plan, right? So that so that you don't lose power to half the stadium.
Well,
Or my testing.
anticipation. I mean, this is actually a good topic because that's what we try to coach our team as much as possible. And brands should be aware of this as well, is what, not just planning, but anticipating. What should we be anticipating by offering this? Or we'll have brands that on our Google side of things may have a promotion on shopping, for instance, or they'll send an email promotion and their freebie or their extra is out of stock.
Yeah.
So let's anticipate that we're not going to offer an item just because it's low in stock to get rid of it. That's going to cause all kinds of other problems that you didn't mean to create.
Yeah. And with fees the way they are now, Amazon wants you to sell through inventory quickly, but they also want your forecasting to be perfect so that months in advance, you know how much inventory you will be able to sell through quickly. So I would imagine your forecasting demands now are nothing like they were 2 years ago in terms of work. And I mean, I don't even know how you do that, but
Well,
is there only a certain amount of
I'm sure
forecasting? Go ahead.
You've heard a lot of the delays in, in FBA. For newer brands that are just starting on Amazon, this is very hard to wrap their minds around. Those containers need to be on their way to FBA in August. That's the only way you can cover your fall big deal days, because the receiving is going to stop and it's going to turn to shipping. So that's really one of the biggest lessons that, are things that we can coach our clients on is, yes, it seems ridiculously early, but if you're there, you can sell. If you're not there, you're never going to sell.
Yeah, for sure. Well, let's skip to the kind of that period has passed. It's over. What do you focus on initially and then a couple weeks out in terms of, managing the rest of the Q4 period, even into Q1? Where does your attention go?
Well, I think at that point, first of all, this year it's very condensed. This is going to be a very short selling season for the holidays. We have basically a week less than we did last year. So usually there's a little lull after Cyber 5, and then things pick up the following week.
Right.
There still might be a lull this year because people aren't mentally prepared for it. But I think that the buying will be a little bit more intense sooner. But I do think sellers, we need to be cognizant of the deals they have planned. They're running a lightning deal or a best deal. Check, first of all, the pricing and check your inventory positions. If you've had a really good Cyber 5 and you ran through a lot of inventory on one deal, do we want to run that deal again? Do we maybe not want to take it at this point? And is the price the right price? I think that's probably one of the most important things that you can do. Decide if you're planning that we've been working on it for months. If all the pieces fall in line, do you still need everything that we planned? And is it the best for your business?
Yeah.
To do that.
I think the other thing that I would encourage brands to do is develop a process called the 3 W's and 1 R. The 3 W's are what worked, what didn't, and what's next. And so just huddle up with your team. What worked with this deal? What worked with this promotion? What didn't work? Well, our inventory didn't arrive on time. Okay, what's next? Well, let's make sure that next year. The R is the reminder. So what a lot of brands do is they have these meetings a week or 2 weeks, agencies too. What worked, what didn't. And then they have the client, or you have come around in the next year Well, have a reminder pop up August 1, September 1 that refers you back to that document so that you can memorialize that and go, oh, yeah, remember when we did that? Let's not repeat that again, especially if the three people you had put those promotions together all went to work for somebody else or you let them go.
Good
You're
point.
still there in the seat and you have no idea. You're trying to contact the agency that ran it.
Mhm.
Make sure you're following that kind of three W's and one reminder.
That's huge.
I love the remember when and keeping track of things as you go, because a lot of people just don't. So
You don't remember what worked last year or what was a miss last year to on the agency side.
yeah,
We keep it. We know what our brands did last year, but there are some, that maybe that slips through or something new might happen this year. Who knows?
I don't even remember where I was last November. I could have been sitting right here.
We were all doing about the same thing.
One of my favorite interactions was when I said, what if we added like this 10% coupon promotion? It's very simple, it's just 10%. What if we have this 10% coupon promotion? Your competitors all do that this time of year. Well, we've never offered a discount like that, and
Mhm.
it's not going to work. Well, actually, you did a couple years ago, and it worked really well. When did we do that? Well, let me show you the. Oh, you're right. You're right. We did. Yeah. So let's like, why can't we consider
Yeah.
it? Well, our margins are eroded. Okay, fine. Let's drop to 5%. Try
Right.
that.
But don't ditch the concept. It's
Right.
funny how we're also in this Amazon cycle that time loses meaning in a lot of ways.
And then we all have 18 months we just completely lost during COVID and nobody
Right.
remembers anything.
That's true.
On
That's true.
purpose.
Any other tips, like from the brands you work with, or let's just say, like you guys went to our conference in New York in May, people that you don't work with grab you, ask you for an opinion in terms of what do I do when the big siege is over? When, like, for postmortem purposes, do you do that in January? You save it for after December's over, or do you have some of those initial conversations when things start trailing off, dying down? How do you guys do it typically?
I'd at least get my team to submit their summary of what worked and what didn't and what's next and let them know, hey, this doesn't need to be long. Just give me 3 bullets for each promo. Have that to me by, you know, December 19th and then leave them alone until January 3rd.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if you wait until after everybody's fat and sassy after the holidays, and then you have early January malaise where everybody's taking vacations and tuning out, you're going to get really poor data.
Yep.
That's the
You can
thing.
compile it right away.
The trail kind of goes cold if you wait until people are largely back or their teams are back January 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, maybe even later. It's weeks in the past at that point, right?
Yeah, there's nothing left up here at all.
So if you don't document it at the time, you can go over it later, but you got to get it in the moment, right?
And keep that then for next year. Say, okay, this really worked well. This had the best conversion, whatever it happens to be. And utilize that then on your forecasting side. Maybe a deal took off and you didn't anticipate it would take off.
Yep.
So now next year, okay, in April, I need to order 20% more of those units. And if we're coming at that proactively saying that, that's only going to help next year's numbers.
Yeah. And really, you know, some of the AI tools out there can really help you with this. You can get all of that data combined from your team. You can feed it to your AI. You can ask your AI to compare this with prior year results and include macro trends about the economy, the election year, like all of this, and then ask it to create you a graph to help you make better decisions in the future. And you're going to really have some great data in not a lot of time that would maybe in the past take us to put all this on a spreadsheet, read line by line, figure out what the common themes are. So save your time there with a good AI tool.
Yeah, that was kind of my last question too. Do you think that the holidays will start being different from each other so that we can't necessarily apply this year's lessons to next year's? I'm wondering if we're ever going to have that where things just change too much over the course of 9 months or 7 months?
Well, I think it all depends on economy, tariffs, no tariffs.
Right.
It's
That's one hard.
yeah, they are different. They are
Yeah.
Yeah.
different each and every year. And I think it's important to also, this is primarily Amazon focused, but being multi-channel is very important, and having you know, some brands have a rip-roaring Shopify store in addition to their Amazon. Some, it's just there.
Mhm.
But if you take some of what you've learned and having that information, it can inform you or inform your agency or freelance team where you can take your Shopify site, what
Right.
kind of deals are interesting also to a search audience.
Mhm.
Because things are always changing. We know that at Amazon. And if we can just anticipate what we can and then also reflect back on what we know, it's going to help us run better businesses.
I think also keeping the Chinese New Year in mind.
Mhm.
A lot of brands like, we let down our guard a little bit. Where the Super Bowl's over, we can take a rest, but you need to have your, February, March, April, and May inventory on its way here, or you end up with the other side of the problem that you don't have anything to sell for the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
Because you want your shipment to go out just so you can
Yeah.
make sure you get everything here in time, because nothing can put a damper on your great holiday sales than no sales in the first quarter of the year because you don't have inventory.
That's a good note to end on, I think. Never keep as exciting as Q4 is, never taking your eye off of what you have to do after that.
You have to be thinking 3 months ahead.
Yeah. With storage fees, what they are with everything. Like you said, it's all supply chain, all facets of logistics and transpo, at least 3 months ahead, I would say,
At least
for
you
the
may even be living.
foreseeable future.
And that poses another problem to sellers on a cash flow side. Now I have to pay for this now
Mhm.
type thing, but it's all part of the life cycle.
Yep. Yep. Well, we'll save the focus on cash flow for next time. Chris and Christine of OMG Commerce for joining me for this conversation. Where's the best place to get in touch with you?
Yeah, we're at omgcommerce.com. There's a Let's Talk button or a strategy session button on our website. You click that, it comes right to me and another gentleman, and we'll hop on a call, just have a conversation and see if there's a fit. And if not, we will connect you with one of our other resources.
All right. Terrific. Thanks for taking the time to talk to me today. I'll catch you next time. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, Chris.
Take care.